This is episode number 35 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. We have officially reached the month of June, and the baseball season is really starting to heat up as much as the weather is. So, Ben, how are you doing?
Ryan, I'm doing good. Tonight is the start of the NBA Finals with my Celtics, so it's been a week long awaited. So I'm happy about that. I'm really excited. Make sure to join, by the way, for Playback. We obviously are sponsored by them, but I wanted to give them a quick shout out because that's what I'll be on for tonight. Red Sox split against the Braves. I'll take it, I guess. Weather's obviously been a lot better recently, so I'll take that as well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Still sad that the Ranger season, again, has come to an end. Being a Ranger fan can be torturous, I can tell you that. 2 cups in a combined 84 years is not fun, and I was not even close to being alive for either of them. Well, I guess I was only a few years away after '94, but still, it's not fun. It's not fun to see them continuously break your heart every single year. But now I just focus my allegiance to the Yankees, who are my favorite team. So we'll see how they go this year. So we have a bunch of things to get into today, but before we do, we just want to remind everybody to follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTCETB. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. You see it right here down below in this graphic. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you listen to your podcasts.
This episode is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everybody perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with commentators and communities care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/HB Network to find out more about our live stream schedule. Make sure to join us for our next stream coming up this Sunday. We obviously will have a stream for tonight, but make sure to join us throughout the rest of the NBA Finals as we've been doing a lot of the NBA playoffs on Playback. So playback.com/HB Network. Find out more there.
All right, so let's get into it. So we have a pretty significant topic to talk about to start this episode off. Tucupita Marcano, he's an infielder for the San Diego Padres, has been banned for life due to gambling on baseball games. So this is the first time since, I believe, Pete Rose, Major League Baseball's all-time hits leader, has been banned from baseball for a gambling scandal related to a player. So Marcano, I'm reading this off the Associated Press. This is from Ronald Blum of the Associated Press. Marcano placed 387 baseball bets, which totaled more than $150,000. 231 of these bets were baseball related, by Major League Baseball related. So this totaled more than $150,000 in October of 2022. And from last July through November. So this was with a legal sports book that he did this with. And Marcano is banned for life. And in addition to that, 4 other Major League Baseball players were suspended for 1 year. So the other 4 players were Michael Kelly. He's a pitcher for the Oakland A's. There were 3 other minor leaguers who were banned. Jay Groom of the Padres. There's Andrew Southrank of the Diamondbacks and Jose Rodriguez of the Phillies. So all those guys are in the minor leagues. And each of those 4 players wagered under $1,000. So they get 1 year suspensions. Southrank and Rodriguez were in Major League Baseball previously. Again, this is coming from Ronald Blum of the Associated Press. And, Marcano has played in a grand total of 149 games in Major League Baseball, so about 1 full season's worth of games. He's played for both the Padres and the Pirates. He spent the last couple of years with the Pirates, although he's been injured for most of these seasons. He didn't make any he was actually with the Padres right now, but he didn't make an appearance this year. He's been recovering from an ACL injury. But it's gambling scandal. And this actually, so this was announced on Tuesday, and coincidentally, also on Tuesday, Ipe Mizuhara, Shohei Ohtani's former translator, pled guilty to his gambling scandal. So, yeah, it's kind of ironic how this all happens on the same day. And I know that Major League Baseball is very adamant. They have that rule, no gambling on baseball, hung up in the locker room of basically every single major league team. And while I understand that, it's the rule, it's arguably the biggest rule around Major League Baseball clubhouses and around the league in general. At the same time, there's also a part of me thinking there's also a little hypocrisy involved in this, because Major League Baseball kind of encourages, fans to bet on baseball, and they kind of encourage it, and they kind of been encouraging, through things like DraftKings and, whatever else, whatever other gambling platforms there are out there to be used. I mean, I personally don't really know much about gambling. I don't gamble at all, so I'm not the best person to, talk about that kind of thing, that kind of stuff. But Marcano getting a lifetime ban for gambling on baseball. He gambled on Pittsburgh Pirates games while he was with the team. But he never played in any of the games that he gambled on, and there was no evidence of the Pirates throwing in the game, or whatever term that you use, or fixing the game. I guess that's the proper term that you can use. But I find it me as a fan, I just find it to be, a little bit of hypocritical, but at the same time, you should know better, because this has been a rule that's been implemented for God knows how many years at this point. It's the main reason why Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. It's the main reason why Shoeless Joe Jackson threw the White Sox through the World Series back in 1919. But yeah, it's, I'm ambivalent towards it. On one hand, I support. I understand and see where Major League Baseball comes from, and on the other hand, I kind of think it's also hypocritical at the same time. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about this. I mean, I didn't really know anything about I never heard of this guy Marcano until I read this article. So what are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I obviously found out about this news, the same time you did. Like you said, it was kind of ironic how it was the same day as Ipe, in which I think pretty much what I thought of Shohei pretty much kind of, obviously he was going to get, penalized with something. But Ipe was really the guy that I think got pretty much a lot of the slammage. But, this obviously, as sucks as it for it to happen, I'm not surprised. It's been, betting on sports has been more popular, I think, now than it really has been. Just for many situations, a lot of states now you have the right to gamble. I obviously do more for just, I want to say just for fun. Well, I do it for fun here and there, but, I don't go crazy with it. If there's obviously like a big game or something like that, like a Super Bowl, or, even like the finals, or like, a game specifically that might not be my team, I'll put, a couple bucks in it and see how things are. But there's some people that kind of go over the top with it. And, obviously if you're a player specifically, you can't do this. Under MLB's rules, personnel are allowed to partake in sports gambling, provided that is legal under in their jurisdiction, and that they do not bet on diamond sports, that is baseball or softball. Each player violated the second part of that. So that's really interesting. Yeah, it just, like I said, I don't know this player from a hole in the wall, so I can't really like kind of know specifically his backstory of this and that. But yeah, no, betting on sports, betting on baseball. I mean, if you're a player specifically, and there's just a lot of strict guidelines specifically, just bet on a league itself. So, he's obviously going to get the boot for this, and I wouldn't be shocked if other people kind of follow suit. The league obviously ain't playing around, and he's just kind of the first victim to see this. And obviously, Jay Groom, like you mentioned, Ryan, he was actually a former Red Sox prospect. So I don't know how he went to the Padres. I don't know if it was with the Xanders was a free agent.
Was it the Hosmer deal?
It might have been the
Oh no.
Hosmer.
Oh wait, no. Hosmer, was he a Padre? I think he was.
Hosmer was a Padre, yeah. But the Hosmer was also a Red Sox for a little bit. Yeah, Groom was in the Red Sox system. I do know that. I don't know when he was over there, but yeah, that's a little disappointing because he was a guy I think the Red Sox were really high on for a while. But yeah, just all of these players specifically are that are getting the ban for it. It just sucks. It sucks specifically. It's just a really bad look for them. Um, and we'll see specifically if they continue to really penalize a lot of these guys moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems that, betting, sports betting in general is just becoming more and more popular, nowadays. And I think, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be right or wrong in this. I think it's only going to increase in the level of activity when it comes to some of these athletes. I just feel that it's just so frequent nowadays. It's almost impossible to ignore it. And, the Pirates, for their part, they issued the following statement. We are extremely disappointed of Tucupita's actions and are fully supportive of Major League Baseball's ruling. The Pirates, along with Major League Baseball, the Players Association, and every other club, work to ensure all involved within our game are aware of the rules and policies around gambling. While the thorough investigation revealed no evidence of any games being compromised, influenced, or manipulated in any way, in this case, protecting the integrity. I mean, it's always been a controversial topic in Major League Baseball for years, and many people, are adamant that P. Rose definitely ought to be given a second chance and be allowed back into Major League Baseball. I mean, Rose is obviously the most recognizable figure when it comes to betting on baseball, understandably so. He's the all-time hit king, and he's associated with that, and that's unfortunately prevented him from being recognized in the National Baseball Hall of Fame and receiving more accolades that he should deserve. But it's a shame. It's a shame that Tucupita did this to himself. He really has nobody to blame but himself. And now he's got to start basically from scratch in regards to what he wants to do with his life. I mean, there goes his career, and I mean, maybe he can play in a different league or something like that. But there's really no chance anytime soon that I think we're going to see him back on a Major League Baseball diamond. And yeah, that's that. It's sad. The whole thing is just really sad, and
Mhm.
it's a shame. And on one hand, I feel for the guy because I think once this was revealed, that I think once his punishment was revealed, I think genuinely deep down he feels bad and he realized what he's done. But at the same time, I think you played with fire. What did you expect? When somebody does this, you're risking your livelihood basically. You're risking your source of income. I mean, it's not only the risk of losing your job; it's also risking financial problems for you or in your family for the future or whatnot. Ask Mizuhara, for God's sake. He was taking money away from Shohei Ohtani because his gambling addiction was so bad, and now he's facing severe consequences. So
Right.
so yeah, gambling addiction is no joke. So that's that. I think that's really all I got to say about this topic right here.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So now we'll move on. And some big news for my Yankees. Gerrit Cole, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner from last year, who's been out for all this season up to this point. He's been dealing with arm troubles. He made a rehab start on June 4th. With the Somerset Patriots, and he looked very, very good. He tossed 3 1/3 scoreless innings against Hartford. So the Somerset Patriots are the Yankees' AA affiliates. He threw 3 1/3 innings against Hartford. He allowed just 2 hits, and he struck out 5. And he threw 34 of 45 pitches for strikes, so only 11 balls thrown. His fastball was also clocked as high as 97 miles an hour, and that was coming from Bill Ladson, who looks like he looks like he covers minor league baseball, Mill Sports, basically, Major League Baseball minor league affiliate. But that's good news for the Yankees. Obviously, the Yankees are aiming for Gerrit Cole to get back in the rotation, and fortunately for Cole, and for the Yankees too, there really hasn't been much of a need to rush him back into the rotation because the Yankee rotation arguably has been the strongest in Major League Baseball. The guys have just been phenomenal. Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, Luis Heel, and Clark Schmidt. The five of those guys did a phenomenal job. They had a stretch, I think, of 16. I forget the exact number of games off the top of my head, but I believe it was like 16 straight games where starters pitched at least 6 innings, and didn't give up more than 2 earned runs. I think it was something like that or something close to that. But I mean, the Yankees unfortunately did get hit with some injury news. Clark Schmidt went down with a lat injury, so he's going to be out for a couple of months. He's probably not going to come back till the end of the year, more like August or September. And there was talk as to how the Yankees were going to configure their rotation once Cole comes back. There was talk about, they may remove Nestor Cortez from the rotation or Luis Heel from the rotation. But there was a lot of backlash around that possibility of removing Heel because Heel's been arguably the best pitcher in the American League so far this season. But it looks like this makes the Yankees' job a little easier with Schmidt going down. Not that, it's good to see somebody go down with an injury, but it looks like Cole is going to fill in Schmidt's slot. But Cole is still not 100% ready to go just yet for Major League pitching. I think the Yankees are going to want him to go make, 2 more rehab starts or something like that before they plug him back into the rotation. But even still, even though the Yankees only have 4 starting pitchers right now, I mean, they have Cody Poteet filling in the void for Schmidt right now.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they should be conservative with Cole. I mean, obviously Cole, was coming off. He didn't. Thankfully he didn't have any major operations on his arm, and he said he definitely feels very good. But they should still be conservative. I mean, there's no reason to risk rushing Cole back and possibly re-injuring himself so quickly. Your pitching has been very good. Your offense has been very good. Just ease him back into the rotation and just go that way. And it really is crazy. There were a lot of question marks surrounding that Yankee rotation going into the season, and for them to have one of the best rotations in baseball, it's pretty impressive. Everybody has stepped up their game, and with Cole coming back, it can only help. And I think with the way things are going, I think you can expect Cole to come back at the end of the month. He's knocking on the door, so Major League Baseball teams better watch out. Thankfully for me personally, I don't think he's going to be starting at Fenway Park. I don't think. I mean, that's next weekend. I think he needs at least 2 more starts. And if I'm the Yankees, I don't want him starting in Fenway Park, to be honest with you. I want him starting at Yankee Stadium. So I think the Yankees right now are home. They're in the middle of a 6-game homestand against Minnesota and the Dodgers, and then next week they have a 7-game road trip against Kansas City and the Red Sox, and then they come back home after that road trip. Once they come back, I think you can possibly see Gerrit Cole start in either a game against the Orioles or the Braves. That'll be a tough homestand for the Yankees, but it'll be fun to see him, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's really good news for you guys. Remember we talked about when he went down, how much this would be affecting the rotation, and I pretty much said to you specifically that they're going to have some guys step up. We talked about, you talked about in terms of Rodon, how much last year was a disaster. He's really just had a complete 180 of the stuff that he had last year of this year. I mean, that's been a massive reason, I think, why the Yankees rotation is where it's at, as the rebounded performance of Carlos Rodon. I mean, his stuff just looks more of Giants Rodon. He's just consistently getting ahead of the counts. He's good up obviously the long ball. I mean, for instance, like last night, he went 5-6 perfect innings, and then he gave up a homer for his first step. His first hit, his first run, but it was only a solo shot. I mean, if he's only giving up solo shots, you'll take it as long as you're going deep into games and you're limiting the amount of tax on your rotation. That's absolutely massive. I mean, Marcus Stroman, he's going deep. I mean, he's going 6+, and that's been a really good find for you guys. Even Petit, or the guy that is taking over for Clark Schmidt, I'm seeing he's putting up decent numbers right now. So like everybody is. I mean, you got to give credit to Matt Blake, the pitching coach for the Yankees. I mean, he's really done a fantastic job with that rotation. And I mean, obviously, without him, who knows where the Yankee staff is? So, like you said, you don't have to rush Cole obviously back. At this point in time, right? I mean, you guys in the American League, there's not really a lot of great teams in the American League that are just like, I mean, outside of you guys, I mean, Baltimore obviously is good. There's obviously a couple, but like, I mean, right now it's like, like Gerrit take his time. And when he comes back, he comes back. I mean, it's obviously really good to see him do well in his rehab start, but it's more of just his overall health. I mean, that's just I think really the key to kind of come out of these rehab starts. So it's obviously it's good. I mean, he obviously coming back is more of a luxury than ever. And you'll probably get Jason Dominguez back too soon. He's obviously he's in AAA right now. They just called him up to AAA, and you obviously really can't take out Alex Verdugo right now. I mean, I kind of warned you, last year that once you got him, you're going to get an absolute dog, and that's what you're getting right now. However, just try to focus on the second half of last year of the Red Sox. I mean, he kind of fell apart. I hope he obviously doesn't this year for you guys, but you have Dominguez ready. So if Verdugo obviously happens to start slowing down, then you have Dominguez ready to go. They'll try to find a way to put him out in that lineup, I think, for the Yankees at some point this year. So, yeah, and we'll talk about you guys in terms of your hot start. But, yeah, this is obviously a massive story to kind of follow everything that's going great vibes for you guys. And, for myself, on my hand, it kind of sucks that it's kind of the way it is, but it's what it is. I wasn't surprised of this. You get in Juan Soto, an absolute transformational talent, and he's really just buying in and really helping a lot of that team. And then now you bring Gerrit Cole back, and with the way that rotation's going, I mean, it's going to be a really, really fun season, I think, for you guys, and a really good summer.
It already has been a fun season so far. Right now, the Yankees are tied with the Phillies for the best record overall in Major League Baseball. And you brought up a good point with Carlos Rodon really going through a 180 transformational season. Rodon has won 6 straight decisions. He's got an 8-2 record. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think he'll get it, but if he were to keep up this pace, I mean, the 21 season wouldn't be out of the question. I don't think he'll get a 21 season because nowadays it's very, very hard, and it's very rare for guys to win 20 games. It's harder than ever, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been great. Marcus Stroman, I think, has been the most underrated move that the Yankees have made this offseason. He's been great. His enthusiasm, I think, has definitely been a big plus for the Yankees. Verdugo's also been a very good move for the Yankees, obviously, like you mentioned. He made a great catch in yesterday's game against the Twins. We're recording this yesterday was June 5th, and Verdugo made a really nice running catch right at the wall. As soon as he caught it, he hit the wall in left field, and I think Verdugo leads all of Major League Baseball in defensive runs saved for left fielders, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So his caliber of defense in left field is exactly what the Yankees needed, because they really have not had an everyday starting left fielder since Brett Gardner, which has been quite a few years. I mean, they were throwing out guys like Franchi Cordero, Isaiah Kiner Falefa in left field last year. It was just a disaster. Position was just absolutely.
You also Aaron Hicks too.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, he can hit a little bit too. So yeah, I mean, to bring Cole back into this team, I think it can only be beneficial. And in terms of Dominguez coming back, I think it really just depends on how the team plays. If they continue to play this well with this cast of characters, I don't really see a reason for Dominguez to come up right now in the middle of summer. I mean, he could probably come back up, in September, when they expand the rosters a little bit here. But, I think Dominguez is coming off of Tommy John surgery, and he's looked good ever since he started playing baseball this year. So, there's really no rush for Dominguez to come back either. So, the Yankees, are fortunate that, they're able to take their time with these guys coming back from these injuries. And they're very fortunate that they're very fortunate that they're in the position that they're in. Some other teams, it might be a different story where they are rushing these guys to come back before they're fully ready to go. But the Yankees have the luxury of leading the American League East right now and playing well and having everybody step up. And we'll continue with the Yankees. We'll stick with them because the big three in the lineup, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Juan Soto, are the first Yankee trio in history to have 15-plus home runs through the first 62 games of a season. And that's a pretty impressive stat, if you ask me. You think of all the home run hitters that the Yankees have had over the years. I mean, from Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, Maris, Alex Rodriguez, so on and so forth. I could keep going on and on and on here. The fact that these three guys, arguably, which could make an argument, is maybe the most intimidating top three guys you could face in Major League Baseball. I mean, others, you can also make the argument that Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman are the top intimidating hitters. I'd probably pick them a little bit more over Judge, Stanton, and Soto if I'm not being biased. But it's a pretty impressive stat. I mean, there's no way you cannot be impressed with that stat, regardless of what team you root for. I mean, Soto obviously has just been phenomenal. There's no other way of saying it. He's been everything the Yankees and their fans could have wished for. I mean, I personally I've been enjoying watching Soto, and I've been sure to soak it up because you never know if this might be the only year that we have him. So it's always fun just to see him whenever he comes up to the plate, even if you have to go to the bathroom so badly, you just fight through it and you watch him because almost always he'll do something and he'll always put on a show whenever he comes up to the plate. It's must-see TV. And Judge, got off to a very slow start this year. I think he was hitting well below the Mendoza line at the end of April. And he just tore it up in May. He just went off, and he looked like the player that everybody knows and loves. Judge had a phenomenal May. He tore it up. He was hitting home runs at a rapid pace, and he's back up. His average is back up in the 280s, I believe, right now. He leads baseball in home runs with 21. So Judge is back. Giancarlo, he's been up and down as usual. It's what you're going to get with him. He'll have his streaks. He had a very hot streak during May, from the beginning of May to the middle of May. He cooled off a little bit when the Yankees hit the West Coast, although he did hit a couple of home runs there. But his average has dropped back to the high 230s, low 240s. Even when at the beginning of May or in the middle of May, he was in like the 250s, 260s range. So his average is going to go up and down like an elevator. That's just the way it's going to be. But he still has power. People were wondering if he still had that power stroke after losing all that weight in the offseason. That obviously has helped him stay on the field, knock on wood. I mean, you never know. It's Giancarlo Stanton. God knows how many injuries this guy has had over the years. But, the Yankees have been very cautious with Stanton. They have not played him in the field at all. I don't think you can at this point anymore. And Boone gives him more off days than anybody else, obviously for good reasons because of all of his injury history in the past. But Stanton, for the most part, I would say from where he was last year, given his age and his health issues, for Giancarlo Stanton, this has been a pretty good year. I don't think you can really complain too much about him. I mean, he'll still drive me crazy with a horrendous-looking strikeout every once in a while. But through 28 games in May, I want to go back to Judge quickly. Through 28 games in May, Judge hit 371 and had an OPS of 1.415. He had 14 home runs, had 12 doubles, and he drove in 27 runs. So he basically made up for his April as emphatically as you possibly could. And Soto, obviously, like I mentioned, has been doing it all year long. Soto right now, I would say, is the favorite to win the American League MVP. And yeah, what else can you say about this big three? I don't know if you have any thoughts about it as a Red Sox fan.
It must be nice, Ryan. It must be nice when you have 82 and 80 with you guys last year. You guys called it a down year. I'm taking that right now with my team in a freaking heartbeat. And that's a sad thing to say as a Red Sox fan. You never want to have only 2 games over 500. But, give credit to the Yankees ownership. They're like, we're going to go out and spend top dollar on one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's essentially just changing everything. I mean, because in the past, I mean, the Yankees with between Rizzo and Torres and a bunch of others, DJ LeMahieu, Judge obviously was the big focal point of obviously the lineup. But when Judge would obviously kind of go through his struggles, the lineup kind of around him, it was a lot easier to pitch to. Now when you have Soto in there, you have a 2-3 punch or a 3-4 punch, regardless of how you want to kind of put it in there. And then if you add that added bonus with Giancarlo obviously kind of doing his thing where he could at least give you 20, 25 plus home runs. I mean, I'm not surprised by this, because Soto obviously is as advertised. I mean, he's coming in specifically. He's done well pretty much every other place that he's done. And then Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. So I'm not surprised that this is obviously, going on by any means. So, I mean, good for you, Ryan. Good for all the Yankee fans that are out there. I mean, it's a really impressive stat to have. My biggest thing for this Yankees team is I just wonder specifically, like, because the highs of the highs, right? You feel like you're on cloud nine, and I just don't know specifically if they're going to have a tough stretch. That's the biggest thing, and as long as these guys keep on doing their thing, I mean, there's not really. I was watching some of your game last night, actually, Ryan, because there really wasn't anything else really to watch, and Michael Kay was saying he's just like, how can you start navigating this lineup, especially when you get guys starting to heat up like Torres and Rizzo, specifically because of these three guys. So it's really massive to think of, like, if this Yankees team is healthy, it's like I just, as a Red Sox fan, I mean, it's what it is, but like I don't know who's really stopping this team in the American League right now. Between obviously their pitching, they don't even have Cole back. Dominguez is still obviously in AAA. I mean, these core three right now, if they're killing it like they have been, um, you know, who knows what terms of what happens in the playoffs, because Aaron Judge in the playoffs we've seen hasn't been a great postseason guy. Stanton in the playoffs, he's okay. So it's great to have obviously during the regular season, but obviously when it matters most is when I'll kind of judge this stuff. But it's really good to obviously kind of see as of right now. And obviously the Soto effect is obviously real. So it's really cool to see, Ryan, for you for sure, and for Yankee fans. But we'll see specifically how sustainable this could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make an argument here, even though Soto's only 25 years old. I think there's a good case that you can make here that both he and Judge could be future Hall of Famers. I mean, Judge has done so much in his career already. I mean, the only thing missing for him is a World Series ring. And like you said, him in the postseason has not necessarily been the best. And as much as I love Judge, it sucks to see him struggle in the postseason because let's face it, he hasn't really been the best He has not been the best postseason performer throughout his career. He has a tendency to strike out a lot in the postseason. The pitching gets a lot better, and they just start to attack him more. It seems like the pitchers just are not faced by him, and they just go after him much more in the postseason than they do during the regular season.
That was a lot. To be fair, that was a lot of Houston's pitching, and you're probably not going to see them this October. So it might be the year that Aaron Judge decides to become Aaron Judge in October.
Speaking of Houston's pitching, one guy who he will not see in the postseason regardless is Christian Javier, who has owned Aaron Judge throughout his career. But Javier is done for the year, unfortunately. He has an elbow injury, and he has to go under the knife. And so does Jose Urquidy, another arm for the Astros. Urquidy's not as good as Javier, and he hasn't dominated the Yankees like Javier has done, who no-hit the Yankees at one point. So, that's a terrible loss for the Astros. The Astros rotation is so thin right now. They have Justin Verlander, and that's really it. They have a fourth
Brown, and he hasn't been great.
Okay, I guess Brown's all right, yeah.
He's not great, but
yeah, I mean, Spencer Arrighetti.
Framber Valdez, too.
And Valdez has been hit or miss for like the past 2 years now.
Yeah.
So, and Spencer Arrighetti's not that good. So it's just, with the Astros, they're relying a lot on a 41-year-old Justin Verlander. Granted, Verlander is one of the greatest pitchers ever. But, when it comes to the Astros, nobody has given Aaron Judge more problems than Christian Javier. I think Judge is like 0 for 14, 0 for 15 against him in his career with like 10 strikeouts, something like that. It's pretty bad. Like Javier is one of the few pitchers in the league who has completely owned Aaron Judge. Not many guys can say that, but he's done for the year. So, if the Astros do right the ship and they get back in the postseason hunt and they eventually get back to the postseason, we'll see how it shapes up. But yeah, I don't know what else you can want from Judge, Stanton, and Soto other than to keep doing this all the way through the end of the regular season and into the postseason. I mean, with the rate that the Yankees are winning games right now, I mean, my biggest concern is it's June 6th. There's still a lot of baseball to be played. And if we remember 2 years ago in 2022, the Yankees got off to a similar kind of start. They got out of the gate red hot. They built up a big lead in the American League East. People were comparing them to the 1998 team. And then after the All-Star break, they were a completely different team. They were a 500 team. They couldn't hit. I mean, the only guy who was hitting was Aaron Judge. And they slumped to the finish line, barely beat Cleveland in the division series, and got their asses kicked by the Astros again in the ALCS. So I'm just hoping that it's not that again. But I'm reminding myself, you didn't have that team did not have Juan Soto. That team did not have Alex Verdugo. That team was not as that team had Josh Donaldson. That team had Aaron Hicks. That team had just a bunch of guys who, let's be honest, did not belong on that team. So
they're like dead weight, honestly, out there. To be honest, it was like dead weight out there. To be honest,
dead weight. It was Aaron Judge, and everybody else was not. Everybody else was just useless, basically. But like you mentioned, Torres is starting to swing the bat a little bit better. It's about time. Hopefully, he can keep it up a little bit more. Rizzo is painfully slowly starting to get back. He was in a pretty big slump. He had a tough May, but he's starting to get back into things. Oh, and Christian Javier stats against Aaron Judge. Judge is 0 for 13 against Christian Javier with 0 hits and 7 strikeouts. That's pretty bad. Not many pitchers can have a claim to that, but for whatever reason, Javier has a pretty nasty curveball, or he has pretty nasty off-speed stuff, and that's always been kind of Judge's kryptonite. I mean, Judge has been a much better off-speed hitter in recent years, but Javier's stuff is just he's always had a hard time with. It's just every major league hitter has one pitcher they just cannot figure out, or has one pitcher they can't figure out. So the Judge has just not been able to figure out Christian Javier, but Javier's done for the year, which sucks. You never want anybody to go down with that. But
no, especially with the way we were talking about injuries for like the first 3 weeks of the season. Another one bites the dust, I guess, Ron.
Yeah, so it sucks. But yeah, you can't really complain too much right now if you're a Yankee fan. So nice piece of history there for Judge, Stanton, and Soto. And now we're going to move on to another Scott Boras client who signed late this season. Former Yankee and former World Series champion with the Texas Rangers last year, Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery signed very, very late this season, as we all know. And it got to the point where he was very upset with Scott Boras for making him wait so much that he fired him as his agent. And Montgomery has gone off to a very rough start with the defending National League champion Diamondbacks. And yesterday, June 5th, against the Giants, Montgomery turned in by far his worst outing of the year. He got absolutely mauled. He lasted only 2 innings, gave up 7 hits, 6 earned runs, including a grand slam to Wilmer Flores, walked 3, and only struck out 1. And Montgomery right now in 9 games is 3-4, sporting a 6.80 ERA. The fact that he has 3 wins under his belt is a miracle with an ERA of that magnitude. So, again, there's just been more emphasis being stressed around the league, saying that spring training is very important, and Montgomery is learning the hard way like Blake Snell. Snell, actually, I think, is dealing with more injury issues. He was pitching against the Yankees this past weekend and had to come out of the game, I think, in the 4th or the 5th inning. So Snell's been dealing with injury issues. Montgomery's been dealing with command issues. It looks like he's just been leaving balls out right over the middle of the plate at the worst possible time. And Montgomery got booed by the Diamondback fans yesterday after he was being taken out of the game. So basically, I guess all you can say is what goes around comes around. And It sucks. I like Montgomery, but I mean, this is what happens when you push your luck and try and get more than I think that you're worth.
Yeah. I really haven't watched a lot of Monty this year, but I was clamoring for the Red Sox to get this guy for so long, and silly me for kind of looking more into it. I was just like, well, he hasn't really pitched a lot in spring training, so who knows how he's going to be. And it just comes to show, we talked about Blake Snell last week of him kind of being like, well, maybe I should have pitched in some spring training. Like, no shit. I mean, yeah, this is pretty much kind of what you get paid for. Is pitchers have to essentially go from it's a pitching program essentially, right? Where they essentially kind of have to start somewhere and kind of work their way up. And I obviously understand, pitchers want to get paid this and that, but I think it's more. You need to just like I said, you just need to find a way to kind of start somewhere. And with Monty right now, I mean, I saw his game against the Mets. I was watching some of that on TV, and the Mets really were struggling mightily to hit the ball. I mean, they were having a hard time not only hitting the ball but scoring runs. But they put up like a 7 spot on him, and I was just watching it, and I'm just like, this does not look like Jordan Montgomery that I'm accustomed to. A lot of pitches over the plate, not a lot of velocity. His command wasn't great either, so I hope he's not dealing with any type of injury because this is now obviously a couple starts, and yeah, you're obviously going to go through struggles and stuff like that. But I think partly of this, like we all mentioned, you need to really pitch a decent amount in spring training to kind of get your feet wet, and he just never really had that. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why. And the Diamondbacks are 29 and 33, and they have some injuries going on with their rotation, and they need to get a guy like Montgomery right. Him and Gallon, obviously. Gallon's obviously a stud, but between Monty and Brandon Pfaadt, some guys that are kind of been inconsistent, that's why the D-backs are where they are. They were just in the World Series last year, and now they're 4 games under 500. And yes, obviously they can kind of get themselves going. Corbin Carroll's had a really, really rough start to the year. Really surprised about that, but Jordan Montgomery needs to really start anchoring that rotation, and the stuff that he's been pitching as of late is just not going to cut it. I mean, now you have your fans starting to boo you. This is what you got paid for, and you're just facing the reality at this point. So hopefully things kind of start changing around. Maybe it's just a first half type of slump. You see a lot of pitchers that have really good first halves and then turn around the second half. This might be an example. Him and Blake Snell. I know that Snell really pitched well before he got hurt, I think, against the Yankees last start. So maybe just kind of the getting out of it, and hopefully he'll start turning things around. But as of right now, it just does not look pretty.
Yeah, well, Snell is actually on the injured list. So and he's already been on the injured list twice this year, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been a rough go for the two-time and reigning National League Cy Young Award winner. And Montgomery, yeah, it's been a rough go. And like you said, if you're a pitcher, you really should sign. You have to sign before pitchers and catchers report. There's no way around it, and it takes longer. There's a reason they report. I mentioned this last week. There's a reason they report the earliest before anybody else. It takes the longest for them to get ready, and they tried to get ready, during the middle of the season or as the season began, and that's just not going to cut it. And unfortunately, it's cost them some. It's cost them at the beginning of the season. And, unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, they've just been decimated with injuries, especially to that rotation. Zach Gallen is obviously dealt with injuries. I still think Eduardo Rodriguez has yet to make a start with them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they also, Merrill Kelly, I forget if it was Merrill Kelly who had an injury this year.
I'm going to be shocked.
So, yeah, it's been tough. It's been a tough go for the Diamondbacks, and they have not looked anywhere near like the team that we saw at the end of last year that made it to the World Series. So, yeah, Montgomery's struggles continue and the Diamondbacks struggles continue. Now we're going to move on to who we feel around Major League Baseball is worthy of being an all-star this year. So this year's Major League Baseball All-Star game is quickly approaching. We're already a month away from the All-Star game, which will be held in Texas, I believe, this year. So kind of fitting, home of the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers. And right off the bat, for me, for the American League All-Star team, I don't think there's any question. Some of the guys that should be on this team include Juan Soto, obviously, who right now is the front runner for the AL MVP. I'd pick Soto. I believe Judge obviously has done enough too. I think he's basically picked himself back up. I think he should be an All-Star. Gunnar Henderson, I think without question should be an All-Star. I think he's the starting shortstop. Although I do think Anthony Volpe should also be in the All-Star game too. I think he should be on the. I think he should be. I'm sorry.
A reserve.
A reserve. He should be a reserve. But Gunnar Henderson should definitely be the starting shortstop for the All-Star game for the American League. Kyle Tucker should definitely be an All-Star. He's had a great year so far. Bobby Witt Jr. with the Royals. What a year he's had. He's hitting .319. Witt Jr. should definitely be an All-Star. Salvador Perez, another guy off the Royals. Perez is having a renaissance year. He should definitely be the starting catcher for the American League All-Star team without question. Jeremy Pena, another shortstop who's quietly having a very good year. He should be another reserve for the American League All-Star team. Adley Rutschman, of course, another catcher. He should be in the American League All-Star team. So those are, I think I threw out just like 7 or 8 names right off the top of my head. Those guys right then and there, in my opinion, are the most worthy position players. In terms of pitching, Luis Gil definitely deserves to be an All-Star. Corbin Burns has had a great year so far, obviously, with the Orioles. Him and Gil are just battling for the American League Cy Young Award this year. So Corbin Burns definitely deserves to be there. Those are names right off the top of my head for the American League. And then in the National League, I think without question, Shohei Ohtani should be on the National League All-Star team. Might as well start with the obvious.
Water's wet.
Water's wet, yep. Luis Ariz should definitely be an All-Star again because he really has picked up ever since he joined the Padres. He got off to a slow start, but man, he has just raked since he joined the Padres. His teammate Jurickson Profar, very good year.
That's a good one. Underrated.
Profar should definitely be a starter in the All-Star team on the National League All-Star team, if you ask me. Mookie Betts, obviously, he was my pick to win the National League MVP. Although Betts has been kind of in a slump recently.
Yeah,
his average is down to 309. So Betts has been slumping recently. I would also say William Contreras, the catcher for the Brewers, having a very good year. Marcell Ozuna, very good year with the Braves. He's hitting a 309. Freddie Freeman, obviously, you can't have an All-Star team without Freddie Freeman. He's too good not to be on in the All-Star team. And Alec Bohm of the Phillies, very good first half he's had with the Phillies. Big reason why the Phillies are where they're at. And for the pitching, Ranger Suarez with a 1.70 ERA. He could probably be the National League starter for the All-Star game. Shota Imanaga, very good year with the Cubs. He should definitely be there. And for two other pitchers for the American League that I wanted to mention, Tariq Skubal of the Tigers will most likely will be an All-Star. And Tanner Houck from your Red Sox. Houck's had a great year. He'll probably be the leading vote getter from the Red Sox. And also Rafael Devers, I think, should make the All-Star team as well.
I was going to tell you, Ryan, if you're going to forget Rafi, man.
No, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Houck and Devers should definitely be your leading vote getters. I guess you can also make a case for I'm sorry?
Jarren Duran?
Duran, I think you can make a case for. Has O'Neill cooled off? Tyler O'Neill?
Yeah, he's been kind of hurt that one and out though. So.
All right, so then I wouldn't vote for him then. But those are just some names that jump off the top of my head. I don't know if you have any preference. I don't know if you have any other names that you want to mention.
Ryan, I got my ballot ready to go.
Nice.
So here we go.
Here you got.
So at first base, Tristan Casas. That's my first baseman. I do think that Tristan, even though he's been hurt, he's had pretty good stats overall. I think you can make a really good case that Tristan gets in. My second baseman, I got Jose Altuve from Houston. I think that Altuve is still doing Altuve things, regardless if you love him or hate him. My third baseman, I got Devers. My starting shortstop, I had to go back and forth. I do think regardless if Gunnar is going to be a starter or not, but my starter I have is Bobby Witt Jr. I
Oh,
think
wow.
that I think him personally, I just think that he's a five-tool player. He can run the bases well. He could play short. He just hits, man. He's just
The, Am-
absolutely.
the American League has some pretty sick shortstops this year. Henderson, Witt, Pena, Volpe. I mean, of
Mhm.
the four of them, I think you can only have like three players for one position, if I'm not mistaken, for an all-star game.
I think so. I
So,
mean,
if I had to choose of the four, exclude Volpe, and that's not a knock on Volpe, not a knock on him at all. He's had a great year, but yeah, I would probably put Henderson, Witt, and Pena. Well, actually, yeah, probably
I'd
Pena.
probably take Volpe actually over Payne, to be honest.
Maybe. Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Volpe's had a great year so
yeah,
far.
he has.
So yeah, maybe
Um,
Volpe over Pena.
and then my starting outfield, I have Judge, Soto, and Kyle Tucker.
That's
Those are
good.
my those are my outfield three. I think that those three have been the three that have really stood out the most. I think of the whole entire first half. Without Kyle Tucker, the Astros might be even more in the dumpster than they are. I mean, Tucker just went through. I mean, he's I think by far been their most consistent hitter.
Hmm.
And if the Astros somehow are selling, I mean, this guy might be giving a massive package for a team that might be looking at him. I heard a rumbling out there that the Phillies might be looking at Kyle Tucker, and
Oh
goodness
God.
gracious, if he was a Philly, I mean, that'd be stupid. Their lineup would be obviously stupid, but I don't know about that. We'll see. My starting catcher is Salvi. Salvi's had a fantastic year. He's kind of turning back the clock. And my DH, Ryan, we haven't talked about this guy. We got to obviously talk about him too, is Jordan. Jordan is my starting designated hitter. Jordan, I think, has had a pretty good first half. Not surprised. So that's that. My National League, my starting first baseman is Bryce Harper. I think Bryce Harper, I know you said Freddie Freeman, but I really think that Bryce definitely deserves to be the starter this year. Um, no offense, not a knock on Freddie. I wouldn't be shocked if Freddie obviously starts, but I got Bryce at first base. My second base, I got Ketel Marte from Arizona. I think this guy kind of gets one under the radar. He's a switch hitter. He does really, really good things. My third baseman could potentially be a future Yankee, Ryan McMahon from Colorado.
Yeah, there's we talked about that.
I think that Ryan has been a really good hitter. He just doesn't get a lot of love because he's with the Rockies. Nobody really wants to talk about really the Rockies. Um, the outfield was a little bit more challenging. Actually, my shortstop, they had Mookie there. Mookie obviously was going to be the outfield for me, but they had Mookie in the ballot as shortstop, so I put Mookie at short. Now the outfield's going to be a little more on the trickier side because I would have put Acuna there, obviously, if he didn't get hurt. Uh, so I have Brian Reynolds from Pittsburgh. I got Tatis Jr. and I have Christian Yelich. Those are my three outfielders that I have there. I don't really like that personally. All my choices that I had there. I mean, I think Tatis might be reserved. Yelich has a case, obviously, and Reynolds has a case, but I don't know. I really wasn't like fully confident of those ones, but I put those in. And then my catcher round for National League is Will Smith from the Dodgers. I think that
Yeah, he's had a good year.
Will Smith is just an absolute monster. I mean, the Dodgers really just have their lineup is just loaded. I'm not surprised. And then DH is Shohei. So that's my ballot for the starters I have. I didn't put I don't know if they have pitchers in terms of for the ballot or not, but I'll give you the pitchers now that should be getting love. Seth Lugo from Kansas City is 9-1 right now, so he should definitely be making a case. Luis Hill, Carlos Rodon should be having a chance to make the All-Star. I mean, heck, Ryan, he's 8-2 right now. Tarek Skubal, couple guys that could be flown under the radar. I mean, Brian Bale is 6-2. He has a case to be a reserve. Grayson Rodriguez from Baltimore, he has a case as well. I think I put Skubal in there as well. National League, Ranger Suarez, I think, has a massive case. Aaron Nola. I mean, Ryan, the Phillies' top three guys have more than 6 wins plus in their rotation. Between Wheeler has 7 wins, Nola's 8, and Ranger has 9. I mean that you can't really do any much better there. Chris Sale. Chris Sale, I mean, he should be getting a ton of love. He's 8-1 with 3.06 ERA. Total just revamp of what he kind of was from the Red Sox, but I'm really happy for him. I've thrown under the radar type of one, actually two. Yamamoto is like low key kind of like dealing right now. He's 6-2. He has a 3.32 ERA. So I do think that he has a case to be a reserve.
Yankees are going to face him on Friday or
Was
tomorrow.
that?
Yeah, we have to face him tomorrow.
That should be interesting. I'll be curious to watch that for sure. Max Fried is another guy. So you can kind of hear like the trend really for National League. I'm talking like a lot of Phillies, a lot of Braves, and a lot of Dodgers. For the American League, I've been talking a lot of Yankees. Scooble obviously is a stud, but then you have Rodriguez and Burns there as well too. So it'll be curious to see in terms of who gets in, who gets out, but you know, All-Star game is obviously a lot of fun. It's really cool to kind of see who everybody picks for the balloting. And yeah, we'll kind of see in terms of what happens. But yeah, for my Red Sox, I think that the guys that should make a case to be potentially in position guys for sure, Rafi, and then questions possibly got Duran and Casas, and then pitching wise, definitely Tanner Houck for sure. And then I don't know about Cutter because he's kind of like fallen off a little bit. He's really kind of I don't know really kind of what happened with Cutter. Bayo definitely has a case for sure. So there's a couple of guys in the Red Sox, definitely with the Yankees, Soto, Judge, Heel,
Another
Don.
guy that should probably that I forgot to mention from the Yankees, Clay Holmes should probably be the
Okay.
closer.
Yep.
Holmes had a very
No.
good year.
Yep. So there's a lot of it, Ryan. I'll be curious to see in terms of who gets in, who doesn't. So we'll see. And another guy specifically that I thought, actually two guys that I thought were going to be all-stars, actually three, because Texas was the defending champs last year. You would have thought guys like Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, three guys specifically we didn't even mention out there that you're like, okay, that can make a massive case. But Adolis has been very consistent. I think Corey Seager just got hurt.
Again, yes, he hurt his hamstring again last night.
Another guy gets hurt. I mean, it's like Manny Machado got hurt last night as well. I mean, what did the baseball gods have to really do to us, Ryan, this year?
I mean, and also that same game, I mean, he wouldn't be an all-star this year, but Kenta Maeda, who started the game for the Tigers, left the game after 2 pitches. So, yeah, there's just been a lot of injuries going around Major League Baseball. This season has got to be setting a record for the most injuries for one season in Major League Baseball. It's absolutely outrageous. And, it seems like every single episode that we get on here, we just talk about this guy going down or that guy going down.
Oh, yeah. You can make a place on bet currently right now on our episodes every single week that one guy will go down. I mean, we can make our bets essentially be at an all-time high.
You can make a Major League Baseball All-Star injury team, basically, with the roster that you have of all these players going down. It's absolutely amazing. It's really bad for the game. And Major League Baseball really needs to do something about this. They really, I think, need to give some rules to some players, like what you can and can't do for a workout or something like that. Just something.
Correct.
Just something to reduce these injuries. It's absolutely outrageous. But yeah, I think we're kind of out of time here, so I think we're gonna wrap it up right here. But yeah, thank you for tuning into episode number 35 of Hitting for the Cycle. On behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. We'll see you next time.